Guys, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Silly Pointer. So, thanks a lot for all those who waited patiently and were patient enough to watch the entire episode. The first episode that we brought out was pretty long and draining. So, really appreciate if you all have watched that. And yeah, we're back. We're trying to present a much improved version of ourselves here with a proper agenda that we have set for us. And we are pretty excited. We'll be covering the highly hot topic right now, the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So we are done with the first two tests, and we'll just take you through some highlights of the key moments. We'll be discussing the key moments that happened in the first two matches. So yes, thanks for again. Thank you for continuing to watch this, and any recommendations, any suggestions to improve our content or the way the format of the show is would be highly appreciated. So yeah, let's begin.
I like the fact that you call this a show, man. Thank you so much.
It is.
Yeah, it is. It is. More definitely is. But what a beautiful start to the series, man. I expected nothing less. Everyone was speaking about how, you know, India will be dominated and it's going to be a very painful and tiring series, given that New Zealand came home and whitewashed us. But the way we fought back in the first Test match, and then after that, you know how the noise around happens, both Australia as well as India. The media, the fans, the entire ecosystem around both the countries, they're so passionate, and
Hmm.
sometimes the passion turns to a lot of aggressive stance towards the players, the teams, the environment. So what happened after the first test, the news reports and the opinions that were coming in of where Australia stood and what the mental space in the team was and all of that, spoke as if the script had completely been changed and India is the team to beat now. But I was always wary, because you never take the Australians lightly, and rightfully so. They bounced back, and I would have expected nothing less. And here we stand, 1-1. And as we do this, I think
Perfect
just a
setup.
couple of absolutely, and just a couple of days from now, we'll have the third test match, the defining match, you may call it, of the series, which should start in Brisbane. So, how do you want to start? Do you want to go for the first test?
Let's go with first test and maybe five key moments that defined the match for you, and it could be for India, for Australia. What were the key takeaways? Like, yeah, what were the key takeaways from both the tests? We'll go with the first test first. And what are your key moments that you think defined
Mm,
the Perth test, or memorable moments, if you can put it that way?
yeah. I think the very first moment for me happened even before the first ball was bowled, which is Bumrah captaining the side. And many congratulations to Rohit and Ritika for the birth of the baby boy. But yeah, that meant that.
I'll convey this message to you. Yeah.
Okay. If we are conveying messages, I think there are a lot of messages that we need to convey to him. But yeah. So so that allowed us a glimpse of Bumrah's captain. Obviously, Bumrah had captained the test team before, but I think it was a very defining moment. Bumrah taking the field as a captain. I mean, you can say what ifs and what nots had Rohit been the captain, how the match would have panned out, how the result would have panned out. We'll never know. But you could see a stark difference between how the team went about. And I'm not judging over here. I am a big fan of Rohit's captaincy. I've been a big fan of his captaincy over the years across formats ever since he took over from Kohli. But there's a different style, and that style is pretty apparent, and the culture is pretty apparent when Bumrah was leading the team during the first test, and when Rohit was doing it in the second test. So yeah, I think one of the defining moments of the test match, which worked out for us in our favor, was Bumrah captaining the side.
Yes.
What about you? I think let's go one you, one me, else it will be a monologue. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I think the Bumrah is in my list, but I'd like to go first with the debutants. In fact, we had two debutants, Harshit Rana and Nitish Kumar Reddy. So right from picking up crucial wickets of Travis Head in the first innings for Nitish Rana, like what a start! What a magnificent way to start your career. Perth, you like seeming conditions, and you get your match. You pick up a India's nemesis, Travis Head. You get his wicket, and like what a way to arrive. And so it pretty much he never seemed to be he totally arrived at the occasion, if you can put it
Yeah.
simply. Like he was he was not nervous. There was a bit of banter between Mitchell Stark and him. He tried to irk him, but he was pretty composed all the time. So it was a good performance. And Nitesh Kumar Reddy, he was the, I think, only batsman who looked very comfortable in his own. He was within himself. He played his natural game, the aggressive game that he plays. And I think if he's a find, I can say, for Test cricket. Like that aggression at number 6 or number 7, that's really a pretty good gun to have in the team. So those two special mentions to those two debutants, that would be a very key moment in that first Test match. I think that contributed to us winning as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Both of them stepped up massively. One important point to note, obviously, Nitish Reddy's batting stood apart. And the thing is, see, it's very easy for us to see the impact that he's made in the first Test match because our batsmen failed to deliver. So the
Right.
one person who delivers stands apart, right? But and no credit, no loss of credits to him. He, as you said, he's arrived beautifully. I mean, it would have been an overwhelming situation for him. I mean, I know he has a decent first class experience, but not as experienced as to get fast tracked into the Test squad the
Right.
way you would have traditionally done it. I'm sure IPL has to contribute to him being fast tracked to the Test squad, but Harshit Rana, right? Before I move on to the second highlight for me, well, just one point over here. It's very easy to overlook Harshit Rana's critical contribution because of Bumrah's brilliance, and
Correct.
you you expect Bumrah to perform the way he performed, but imagine if, for whatever reason, had Bumrah had an off day, or had Bumrah suffered an injury or something like that, right? Um, Shami is still not there in the squad.
Yeah.
Siraj, by that time, hadn't found his form and his rhythm. So you're practically going with a handicapped bowling attack. And it was very important for you to start the series on a high note. And we
Yes.
bat first. We bat first. The batters have their own story. We'll talk about that. And then Mumra comes. He bowls that brilliant spell. But if he hadn't found that support, not only in terms of picking up wickets, but also in terms of keeping the batsman in check,
Right,
had Harshit,
it's very important for Bumrah to attack and the other end to be contained as well. There was no leakage of runs from the other end, so that pretty much
yes,
helped the other bowler have a attacking mindset as well. So that's
yes.
the
So
partnership. Yeah,
had Harshit Rana swayed in his line and lengths, or had he allowed someone like a Steve Smith or a Marnus Labuschagne or Usman Khawaja to get into form in the first
yeah.
test, the story would have been completely different.
I'm
It
I'm
was
glad
not
you.
only about the wickets, but also the control in the line and length that he had, which allowed for the Australian batsmen who are also still struggling for form,
Yeah,
to work hard for their runs, and that is something that is really noteworthy. Yeah, sorry, you're saying something.
I'm glad you brought about Smith and Labuschagne. So that was my point too. Also, I would say a key moment in the match, the Australian middle order, like Smith and Labuschagne have been a thorn against India. They've
Yeah,
always troubled India literally. So them not performing well or not being a bit out of form in the first test proved a key factor for India crossing the line, I would say. If they would have stuck and done the hard drill in that match, then I think the result would have been completely different. So that was another key moment, them not being on their on top of their game.
Exactly. And you could see the intent from Labuschagne. He stuck around. I think at one point of time, he was one run from 52 balls or something, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. So he was willing to do the hard yards. He was willing to put in the hard yards. He was playing that Pudgy kind of a knock for them. But that's exactly what I'm referring to, right? Harshit
Mm.
Rana supporting
Bumrah.
Bumrah, given that he was in his debut, emotions could overflow him as well, and so anything would have happened. But that was brilliant to watch.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I'll combine. Um, okay, fine. I'll come to Bumrah later. But before that, right, KL Rahul's batting in both the innings.
Mm.
Obviously, there was a moment of controversy surrounding his first inning dismissal. I wouldn't want to
Hotspot.
go there. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't know go there, but his technique and his solid defense. And I was telling Priya also, who was as much invested in the match as me. We used to get up early in the mornings, make a cup of coffee or a boost, and sit down and watch. Right, the way he was watching the ball, he was watching the ball till the last minute, and that showed that he had the concentration, he had the intent to dig in there and stay there. And it was beautiful to watch him play both in the first as well as the second. Unfortunately, he couldn't convert the time that he spent in the first innings, but the second innings was very rewarding when he and Yashasvi had that partnership. I think
Yeah.
it's a major positive even in the second test match. I know we are doing it match by match, but just to continue that, even in the second test match, he looked really strong. He looked really strong and he is someone. I think Rohit will continue to bat in the middle order. So KL is someone who is going to prove to be critical in the next three test matches as well. But I think he's getting into his groove, man. So that's really important.
Yeah. Just to add to that, like I would say, one thing that was missing in his game was hunger, I think, which was pretty much evident in both these matches. So it's good to see someone like trying hard. He's beaten every ball, but that concentration is up there. That's what you
Yeah,
want to see ultimately, a tough fight that's being put up. Even if you lose, I think the result goes either way, but at least put up a show. That's what everyone wants to watch. So
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah. What about your highlight next?
next one, I can say redemption of Yashasvi Jaiswal from zero in first innings to scoring a brilliant 160 odd in the second innings. Like he has immense talent. Like and literally standing up to the occasion and delivering when the team needed it the most. Like first innings was dismal, very poor batting performance by the entire team except KL Rahul who was ready to stand out there. But yeah, so I think that was one defining moment, which, along with Virat Kohli's century, so it's a very debatable topic whether he is really back in form. But
Yeah,
at
I
least,
agree. Yeah,
at least for that test match, when the team required, like Jaiswal and Kohli stepping up to the occasion and scoring, like lighting up Border Gavaskar Trophy with beautiful hundreds, and Australia and Kohli, the great combination continues. Kohli scoring runs in Australia, taking up to the challenge and performing well. It's a show. It's a treat to watch him bat in Australia. Like who
yeah.
doesn't like Virat Kohli scoring runs?
I agree. I'm going to split this into two halves. And I mean, I had, two more highlights, but one of it we already spoke about. That was Nitish's debut. So I don't want to
Yeah,
waste time. I'll come to Bumrah last. But yeah, to speaking to this point, Yashasvi is a superstar, man. It's not only about the runs he scores, but the temperament and the attitude that he has to go back there and prove himself that I am going to put a price on my wicket.
right.
I am not going to let go of it easily. I don't care if it's a Stark or a Cummins or a Hazelwood out there. Um, I mean, there's been those subtle exchange of words and all of that, and that is something you expect in a Border
Right.
Gavaskar Trophy. That's what, kind of livens up the entire environment. But again, beautiful balance of defense and attack, which was really wonderful to watch. It's Test cricket at its finest, and again, I just want to continue with the flow. Second Test match, we had Shubman Gill coming in. Though he did not score as many runs, but when he batted, he looked like $1 million man.
Right.
So you, I mean, we will talk about the seniors and how they are performing and all of that, but to just look at the Jaiswals, the Gills, and the Reddys, and of course you have Pant and Ranas and all of that. It's really wonderful to watch not only the quantum of runs and the circumstance at which they're doing it for the team time and again now, but also with the attitude with which they're doing it. Uh,
Yeah.
and if this is what transition is all about, then I think it's a really beautiful transition that we are in the middle of, man. And yeah, I
True.
appreciate that. But I'm going to make a very controversial statement over here. You said Virat Kohli's century, but you also said we don't really know whether he's back in form or not, right? I don't think it was a beautiful century in the first place, and I'll
I,
tell you
I,
why.
I won't talk much about the innings, but I think the occasion demanded someone to stick in there, and he was
Yeah, in
there.
the
So I think
context,
in the context of a match, it was a very important, you can say, moment that defined
absolutely.
the direction of the match. But talking about his form, it like we have seen much more better centuries.
No, it's not about
Just a
the
mannerism of.
it's not about the again, it's not about the century. With Virat, the and while he's still in a string of low scores and whatever he's going through, right? Even you would agree that tomorrow when he comes out to bat in Brisbane, it will be a surprise for him not to score runs. That is the
Mm,
benchmark that he's established for himself. So it is
mm,
not about the quantum of runs or the three-figure mark that he scored. Why
mm,
is Virat Kohli, right? It's not obviously the runs, the stats are a byproduct of who he is. But why is Virat Kohli? It's because he stands up to the challenge. It's because he's done it in challenging situations when you are not expected to do it that consistently and
right.
with that flair and with that amount of
Mm,
domination. But
mhm,
if you look at this century, why I'm saying that I wouldn't I'm not saying I wouldn't rate it as a beautiful innings. That is different. But what I'm saying is in the context of where he stands currently with his form, um, Jaiswal and Rahul had a brilliant opening stand, right? And meanwhile, by the time Kohli came into the crease, right, and Jaiswal was still going. Rahul, unfortunately, he had a well-deserved century in his hands, but unfortunately he missed out. But Jaiswal
mm,
was still going, right? Now see how Kohli paces his innings over here. By this time, India have almost batted Australia out of the competition already.
right.
The relevance does not demand Kohli to score to save a match. India is already on the brink of setting a target which you expect
It's
India
beyond
to defend.
Australia's reach. Yeah.
Exactly. So Kohli is coming in and Kohli is scoring. Yes, he scores in his typical, but after he crosses the 70, 80 odd mark, he just becomes ultra aggressive, right?
Mm,
And he reaches the three-figure mark. Nitish joins in the middle of his innings, and the way Nitish has been playing is exemplary. My point is, when does Kohli perform? Kohli performs when the pressure is on him. The pressure wasn't on him in the second innings. And the manner of his dismissal again in Perth says that the innings did not have an influence on him as well. Forget the
mm,
team. It did not give him, or he couldn't carry the confidence that he usually carries into the second test. And
Adelaide. Yeah,
exactly, and I'm not saying this because he got out cheaply again. Even if he had gotten out in 70, 80, or 90s, it's the manner of his dismissals that is concerning for me. But
I agree
again,
with
I
you. Like
mean,
if you look at the slow-mo replays as well, he's like if you look at he's fearing the ball, or he's
yeah,
not able to feel the ball or judge the ball. I don't know what's going wrong, but he seems totally off on those
yeah. So
against those bowlers. Yeah.
okay, we'll come to, way forward and all of that. So I think that's it for me when it comes to the first test. Brilliant start for India, crushing
Yeah, just
defeat for
one. I
Australia.
think just one
Yeah,
last point would be Bumrah. Like
absolutely.
again
Yeah,
with his bowling, totally leading the team from the front. You can say
yeah,
uh, crazy. Like to he was on the top of his game, and Australians literally had no answer
yeah,
to his brilliance. So key wickets at key intervals, and again it was total domination from Bumrah in this match. So
yeah,
yeah, historical win. I think Perth
yeah.
good start for the
Moving,
series, like setting up BGT.
yeah. So now we are 1-0. Now moving to the second test. Again, one key highlight that I would want to stress on this is this again starts prior to the second test, but this time it's from the Australian side.
Yeah.
Hazelwood's press conference at the end of day 3 of the first test,
Mhm.
just before the last day of the first test, where Hazelwood is asked by some media person, what is going to be the plan for tomorrow, since you guys are already so behind in the game, right? And he answers to the tune of saying, I don't know, maybe you've got to ask the batters,
Mhm.
and they got to stick to their plans and spend more time in the crease. For me, I would hope to spend more time in the dressing room massaging my tired legs or something, right?
Mhm.
That created a huge controversy and uproar to an extent where ex players also questioned whether, there's a split in the Australian dressing room, and if the bowling group is not happy with the batting group, and the bowling group is being made to overwork and all of that. And when the team for the second test for Australia was announced, Hazelwood missed out due to an injury. Uh, there are a million things that happen behind the screens, man. But
Mhm.
I would, just for the sake of creating some sort of a news, I would want to say that it might not have been entirely an injury which would have prompted him to be out
Possible.
of it, but also the environment that Cummins and the coaching staff wanted to maintain within the dressing room as they moved to the second test. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was the first thing for me.
So first thing more, you started with Josh Hazelwood. So I'll say like even though he was out due to injury, like I think Australians didn't miss his bowling.
Yeah,
Bowling was amazing. Like again, key like it's pretty much what Harshit Rana did in the first innings. He had key breakthroughs. He went for a few runs. He was attacked by Pant and Nitish Rana, everyone, but he had those key wickets at key intervals. And I think which pretty much changed the phase of the game. Like in where India had a partnership brewing, he was there. He took that wicket. So I think that was uh, one factor, one key factor, or one key good change that Australia made, and it proved successful for them.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. See, for me, another thing, and this is common across both the test matches, also the toss. India had
Mm,
an advantage with the toss in both the test matches. The problem for India has been their first innings batting. I mean, the
right.
second innings batting as well, but the
Yeah.
first innings batting is what always sets the tone in a test match. If you don't bat well in the first innings, you're always going to be chasing the game. It's another matter that Bumrah, being Bumrah, kept us in the game for both the test matches. But the toss was a very crucial factor. The fact that Adelaide being a pink ball test, it was very important for us to bat first so that we kind of are able to control how where we are in
Match
what
goes.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we are in what session, and the toughest session, that is the dinner session, right? The post dinner session under lights. is when the ball tends to move around a lot, and then ping ball being the nature of the seam and all of that, it provides more for the bowlers. And I think we missed a golden opportunity by not hanging around more.
Hmm.
In both the innings combined during the second test, we batted for less than 80 overs.
80 overs.
Yeah, that speaks a lot, and that I mean, it's a worrying sign. It's obviously connected to what we've been speaking of, the form of some of our senior batsmen.
Yeah.
But yeah. So toss, and just to add
Uh,
on to that, yeah,
okay.
just to add on to that, you mentioned Boland's bowling. I would also extend it to Stark and Cummins. Stark in the first innings, Cummins in the second innings. Stark coming back the way he did as a beautiful uh, a delivery first up to Jaiswal, and that is what you
I
expect, man. Yeah,
Correct. I'd like to add on that. So, I have Mitchell Stark and Pat Cummins as well as two different moments in the match. You
yeah,
mentioned about the ping ball being difficult to play and the swinging conditions, but you still got to do it right. The way Mitchell
absolutely,
Stark started off, like it's demoralizing. The way Yashasvi Jaiswal got out, there's not pretty much he can do about that. Like the way the
exactly.
ball's swinging. If it would have connected, it's a different story, but it didn't connect. And again, Shubman gives wickets. Like 9 out of 10 times the batsman can't play such a ball.
Yeah,
Like
man.
it was just brilliant. Just imagine the ball swinging at 150 clicks.
Yeah, man.
Even minuscule, that ball moved a lot. It's very difficult. It's a literally an unplayable delivery. So that really I think was a it's very demoralizing on the other batsmen. Like what do they do? It will create a question mark in each batsman's mind. And Pat Cummins again, first innings was all about Mitchell Stark, second innings was about Pat Cummins. Like uh, he was great. He had a 5 I guess, right, in the second innings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So he again leading from the front here, I would say. Pat Cummins, like just like Bumrah did in the India was aggressive in the second innings. Like they were scoring runs, and at a point it like when Pant and Nitish Kumar were batting, they at least seemed to be going towards 100 run lead. But I think the continuous wickets that were being chipped in one by one restricted them. So Pat Cummins again, the bowling department of Australia was just too good for Indians.
yeah. See, there are two teams that are playing, and we tend to forget that the moment we win a game, we're like, hey
Right.
man, we are here, and the other team can fuck off. No, that's not how it's going to be, right? There are teams that are playing. Both
Equally
are
hungry to
champion,
perform.
yeah,
Yeah.
champion teams, and at the end of the day, Australians are the current World Test champions as well. So,
Correct.
and you are in their backyard, and you cannot expect them to not come back with a fight. Um, uh, Before I move on to the next highlight, just one point. I never thought we can come back after the lead that Australia took. We were
Hmm.
also exchanging messages over WhatsApp after India's innings. I told you we were 75 short.
Short. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but the way Australians batted as well. Before I go on to Travis Head, uh,
I
the
think that's what even I
most
was going on to next.
critical,
But
yeah,
yeah.
the most critical, we can say Star, we can say Cummins again. We expect these guys to perform. We expect these guys to come back. But the most critical phase of the match and probably of the series, depending upon how the rest of the test matches go, will be defined by that evening session between Labuschagne and McSweeney.
Hmm.
Usman Khwaja again got out, but McSweeney being a debutant for Australia, facing Bumrah, facing Siraj, facing Harshit Rana, again under the lights, these guys battled it out. I think in that session they did not lose a wicket. Uh, they
Right.
went they went at the end of day one, they were, I don't remember, 69 for one or something. But the fact that both of them hung on might probably end up being a series defining moment for me, not only a match defining one. Yeah.
And like I just comparing them with India's batting, like again, it frustrates the bowler somewhere if someone is batting, leaving the ball, knows how to leave the ball. You got to run in, bowl that same ball again. I think that was something that was missing with India. It was again the way they played. It was something like Pujara or Dravid would have played.
Yeah,
They really frustrated the bowlers, and somewhere when you don't get wickets, you stray in your line, you try something different, and they got the better of that. And then comes Travis Head with already
yeah,
some bowlers who are tired and scores a run of ball 140. I think that
wonderful.
wonderful. That
Yeah,
literally took the game away. Like that propelled Australia to again with the bowling that they have. We again we were never having we never stood a chance the way
yeah,
Travis had played again.
absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, man. And before, I mean, I sum up the match and the series so far. One heart-stopping moment was also when Bumrah had a sprain or something, which
And had gone
kind of stopped
empty.
play.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that was crazy, and that's when you realized how much the other bowlers also have to contribute. They are yet to contribute. Siraj actually came into rhythm. He bowled. He got a four wicket haul, something. But I think he's still below performing below his potential.
correct.
Um, I would like to carry on to the next segment on what is the way forward, what does the playing 11 look like, and how does the series look like. But yeah, but it's beautifully panned out so far. As expected, both teams, winning one round each, which sets up the Brisbane test very nicely. I was just hearing Harsha Bogle earlier today, where he was reviewing this test match as well. He was also, while pointing about the negatives and the positives for India so far, made a very critical point towards the end of it, where he said, this time around, if you see the itinerary and where the games are being played, right, they flipped the entire schedule and they
Right.
flipped it so that they could have given them a best chance to go 2-0 up against India, because Melbourne
Mhm.
and Sydney are the fourth and the fifth test venues, are where conditions suit India the best. So they
No,
know that.
I would differ. Not so in Melbourne. I think historically we have not done well in Melbourne. I think except for when Rahane scored a ton and we won. Prior to that, I think we have always fared poorly. Sydney, yeah, Sydney is a bastion for India, yeah, of sorts.
Yeah.
Sydney, we have
No,
been doing, yeah,
it depend. I mean, it's a comparative between Perth
right.
and
The other
Adelaide.
three, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they have carefully curated the itinerary for them to be given a best opportunity to go 2-0
Right.
or 3-0 up as they head to Melbourne and Sydney. But the fact that we've already picked one up from Perth, and there are positives from Adelaide as well, uh, while it may not be apparent as we spoke about in the results, but Shubman Gill's batting, again, KL Rahul's solidity up top,
Nitish
uh,
Kumar,
Nitish Kumar performing in both the games, and Bumrah as well, and
yeah.
Siraj being sort about there. Uh, I mean, I wouldn't say India go in as favorites, but I wouldn't also say that they are too far behind as compared to where Australia are. Let's not forget that for Australia as well, the difference was Stark's bowling in the first innings and Travis Head's batting in the first innings.
Yeah.
The rest of the team is still struggling to find
And
form, as are
Labuschagne as
we.
well. Labuschagne in the middle order,
Correct.
sort of picking up again. Yeah.
But again, I mean, you could equate Labuschagne to what Kohli had
Mhm.
in the second innings of the first test. So
Yeah.
they're also near about able to, they're still finding their identity, their groove, and their form as well. They're top players. So are we. I think it's going to be very critical and highly entertaining to see where the series goes. But yeah, so moving on, right? Do you expect to see any changes in both the squads?
I think the obvious change is Akashdeep might come in for Harshit because Harshit seemed a bit off in the second test. And also, there are talks about Shami making it for the fourth and fifth test. So to create that opportunity for him to come in, I think they will draft in Akashdeep in place of Harshit. And I think it would the conditions would also favor Akashdeep more because him being a steady customer, Brisbane has a lot of bounce and it's a fast wicket as well. That would be one change. Second change, I don't see Rohit Sharma dropping himself, so he would continue to be the captain. I think that would and Jadeja coming back in place of Ashwin. I think the batting has been that Jadeja might bring a lot more depth into the batting. So that could be another change that I probably foresee.
And what about from Australia's side?
Australia might go in unchanged. Or if Hazelwood is
There
fit,
are
he
talks.
might.
Yeah, there are
Yeah,
talks that
if
Hazelwood
Hazel,
is fit.
yeah,
Yeah.
he would come in. He would come back in place of Poland.
So here's my theory. First, for Australia, right? I think they will go out with an all-pace attack. Probably they will
Mm-hmm.
not have Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon bowled 1 over in the entire test in Adelaide as well, and Brisbane, as you said, is again expected to
Bouncy.
favor, yeah,
Yeah.
favor the Pacers. So if Hazelwood is fit, I expect Australia to go in with an all-pace attack, bowling continuing to retain his spot. For India. Uh, yeah. I mean, uh, I can understand, and had I been the coach, I would have wanted to give another test match to Harshit. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, you are under too much pressure right now, so I think it would make logical sense to move to Akashdeep. But I wouldn't be surprised if Gambhir persists
Mm-hmm.
with Harshit
Harshitra.
for another test match as well. I don't know; it could go either way. For Jadeja, for Ashwin, there are two things. One, Ashwin did not play the first match. Washington played the first match. He barely had anything to do with the ball because
Right.
Bumrah took care of it almost
Mm-hmm.
single-handedly. And he did make a decent contribution with the bat.
But yeah,
First of all, I don't understand why there was a change made from
exactly.
Washington to
Yeah.
Ashwin. Okay. And also Ashwin to Jadeja now. Now, here's a very interesting stat, right? And this is also a stat that I picked up from Harsha's
Mm-hmm.
review earlier today. In the past 7 innings that India has played, right? Both the New Zealand test, the Australia test, and the series prior to that as well, there's been only one century that's been scored.
Mm-hmm.
7 tests, not 7 innings, sorry. So
Okay.
that's 14 innings. And then you multiply that by, I mean, you can say 11 batsmen, but say the top six as well. Uh, so that's how much?
144.
484.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. So about 90 odd chances to the batsman. And there's been only one century that's been made. Can you imagine? One century. And
One
that
century by
century, Ashwin,
like
against
how
New Zealand in Chennai.
okay before Border Gavaskar you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
talking about the previous 7 test matches for India
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
until the Adelaide match.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ashwin is the only centurion in the past 7 test matches, which came in Chennai against New Zealand. Now again, Ashwin did not do much wrong to be replaced. He is as good of a batsman as Jadeja is. Uh,
Right.
so I can understand why you may want to make that change, but again, and I can understand. I mean, I won't be surprised even if they make that change, but I won't see the rationale behind that. I mean, I don't
It's just the
understand
pressure of the moment. I feel just to
pressure of the moment, but how
yeah.
does that come across? You call Sundar, you win the match, and yet you bench him and then bring Ashwin back, and then now you're benching Ashwin and bringing Jadeja back. So
It
I
could
don't know.
probably be Sundar coming back as well. It for all we know, it
I,
could be
I,
that like
I would say Ashwin will continue to play, and yes, it could go either way between Harshit
Akashdeep.
and Akashdeep. I wouldn't be surprised either way. And yes, to your point, I also saw some posts on Instagram, although it was through some unverified accounts or something, where you did see Shami leaving for Australia. He was
Mm-hmm.
spotted at the airport. I don't know how true that is, but
Right.
he did play a couple of domestic matches and stuff. And yes, maybe he's there with the team during the second test, and the physio and the staff sees how his progress is before they take a call on whether to. But I think he will be there in the squad in the fourth test, man. Given the
Mm-hmm.
workload that Bumrah has, you can't risk Shami not being there. So in all likelihood, you will see Shami in the fourth test. But yeah, so series predictions. We stand 1-1. What do you think is the prediction for the coming test and the overall series as well?
Very tough call. It could go either ways, to be honest, but I back India to go 2-1 up in Brisbane, and the series will be 3-2 going in India's favor. I think they're not doing pretty much bad, but I don't see Australia being dominated 3-1 or some from here. I think it would be even closer and 3-2. It will go into the last match at Sydney.
All right. Uh, yeah, I think I would give India the match in Brisbane. So yeah, 2-1 to India there. For the series, yeah, man, it's very difficult to predict as of now. Um, mm, I am again going to place my money on both Virat and Rohit to come good as we get on. So yes, India 3-2, but yeah, uh, अगर दिल से
3-2 in
बोलूँ तो
Sydney or in Melbourne. सिडनी में जीतेगा कि मेलबर्न?
नहीं, तो वही बोल रहा हूँ 3-2, बट अगर दिल से बोलूँ तो 4-1 एज वेल.
दिल से अच्छा इंडिया 4-1. ओके, नहीं
इंडिया
क्या
4-1.
बात है.
Yeah, but yeah. Is there anything else? I know we need to do an episode on the IPL auction review, the teams, how they stack up. So let's do that. We are meeting in a couple of days, so I'm happy about that. But yeah,
Yes.
anything else for this episode?
I think great, yeah. We were I think much better, and any feedback is appreciated. Like whoever is watching this, so just leave a feedback and leave some feedback. Like we want to get better, and any suggestions are welcome on how we can improve this or make this more engaging and can have better discussions. So yeah, I think this was great. It was
Make some
fun.
controversial statements, man. That's the
Yes,
feedback
yes. Make some
from me.
content.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chalo. Thank you,
Chalo.
man. Thank you so much. I'll
Thank
see
you.
you soon. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye bye.